So the first book that we're going to be analyzing today and breaking down to the core is The Silence of Love. And the little quote that goes down here, which is very deep. You ready? It says, the flight of danger, which means that love is a flight of danger. Ooh. It tells you what's to come. And you guys know how I feel about this woman. Stacy Amewoyi, one of my favorite, matter of fact, not even one, my favorite author, top ranked #1, beats all of them out there. Yes, I said it. And you can take my word for it because this book is an enlightened book. So we're going to get straight into it. So over here we have a beautiful picture. You guys know, beautiful. She got the brains, she got the enlightenment, and she's also an influencer, which is an amazing. Okay, so here are some of her accomplishments, just in case you want to know the kind of things she's into. But for the sake of time, we're just going to go straight into it. So, so every chapter in this book is magnificent. Every single chapter, do not skip over it. Everything is magnificent. And as you can see, I have some few things highlighted over here, and I'm going to read for you. It says, behind any successful man, there is a successful woman. Behind any failed man, there is a failure woman. Which means that a marriage is about both man and woman. If the man is successful, which means that there's a woman who's backing him up. Vice versa, if the woman is a failure, there's a man that's backing her up. So yeah, that tells you that about the book. There's another quote. As you can see, like, if I really got a highlighter, I'll highlight every single thing, because every information in this book is key. And this book is not only for married couples, it could be for people who are dating, people who are single, who want to big up on their game. So it's not just for one particular sense of people, it's for anybody, whether you're married, whether you're single, whether you're youth, you can read this book. Okay, another thing that I like is that it talks about mistakes. It talks about how we have to study our partners. We should not rush into things. Now remember a chapter from this book that talks about how people from backgrounds are not being, taught to learn certain things, and therefore when they go into marriages, it's hard for them to maneuver certain things, and they're being manipulated by toxic men because your parents did not give them the teachings when they were younger. So all the little young female ladies out there like myself, if your parents are not giving you the right education, this book can also educate you. So that's why I like it too. It's an educative book, and it's interactive, and it's not boring at all. Every single chapter in this page is a key. Okay, it says marriage is not slavery. Therefore, when you are married to someone, they shouldn't treat you like an animal or you're barbaric. The word barbaric means savage. It means savage. So when you go into marriage, you shouldn't feel like you're trapped. It's not slavery. It's supposed to be an interactive learning process. You learn from each other and you grow. With marriage, you learn to grow. And finally, before we end, it says, sometimes when we meet people, people tell us of great things and ideas. Therefore, we become emotionally attached to them, which means that you should be very aware of the people you become emotionally attached to, because sometimes they might impact or influence you. And that is all, folks, for Silence of Love. I wish we could go deep into it, but for the second time, we have other books to go to. Thank you so much. Bye-bye. Okay, so this is Silence of Love, and there's a little quote here that says, the flight of danger, which really tells you a lot about insight. It tells you how love is a flight of danger. And it's one of my favorite authors, Stacy Amewoyi. So we're going to get straight into it, and we're going to have a deep breakdown of this book. So after you skip the image of her, which is right here, we're going to go to the table of contents. So this is the table of contents, and as you can see, there are 39 little titles out here, and then I selected a few that we're going to go over today. So the first one is The Silence of Courage, which is a very deep chapter that we're going to get into. The next one is 5, and it's the Throne of Spirit, and then we go to 9, which is the Magnificent Destiny, and we go to the Healing Thief. Very interesting, a thief who is healing. So if you're in a relationship, you have somebody who's a healing thief, which means that they're stealing from you in case to heal, which is very deep. And then we have If Only I Knew, which goes, I remember this chapter vividly. It goes to all the people who wish their parents educated them about marriage before they got into it, or they wish they knew a certain characteristic about their partner, be it the male or the female. So If Only I Knew. And then 27 says, Before You Say I Do. So before you're willing to get married, and before you take the next step, you should read this chapter. And then it says The Pursuit of Hidden Agenda. This is also one of my favorite. I keep saying favorite because almost everything in this book is solid gold, absolutely beautiful. And this one says the pursuit of hidden agenda, which talks about somebody's hidden agenda, be it the male or the female. They have a concept in your mind that they want to use you as an object to get rid of it, be it having kids, be it affection, sex, whatever it is. They're going to use you. So that's their hidden agenda, and this is going to tell you how to combat that. So you need to read it if you're going through a circumstance like this. And then the 34th one is toxic love. Now, when you mix toxic and you mix love, you get a big abomination that we're going to get into. So the introduction, I'm going to read a few things for you. It says, life they say is war. I do not know how you understand this, but if you ask me, I'll say that life indeed is war. War by not guns, machines, war by struggling ups and downs, which means that in this life that we're in, we're fighting battles. It may not be with weapons, but we are fighting, so I'm going to keep proceeding reading. This is why in life one needs a partner we are going to war with. So basically this is an introduction. You need a partner to fight the battles with. And it says, but one thing for sure is that we can also attribute love to relationship and marriage. So marriage is an attribute of love. Relationship is an attribute of love. Basically that's what it says. And we're going to skip down here to where I highlighted, and it says, behind every successful man there is a successful woman behind him. Which means vice versa, when there's a man who's a failure, there's a woman who has failed behind him. So this is very, it's written in plain English. It's written for you to understand that if there's a successful man, that means there's a woman back there, tying him up and helping him, and vice versa. If the man is a failure, it can be accounted to the woman behind. And then it says, there are lots of people who are hurt, but still overcome themselves in silence, which I already read the silence of courage. So this is a little tidbit onto the chapter. It means that people are hurting in silence. And when you're hurting in silence, you can't heal and you can't grow because you're in silence. So we have to deal with that. So this is just the introduction, as you can tell. I had to skip over so many information, but this is very deep. So we're gonna go to a little places that I highlighted. Okay, so we're gonna go to chapter 13, and it says the second girlfriend. And this is very spicy, I know, and the title is written to draw you in because you all want to know the tea of the second girlfriend. So I'm going to go read it. It says, and the most of this is unfortunate aspect of life. When you do not really have your partner in your mind because you know that there might be someone else in love, the man or woman in the world become confused. Which means that when you have a partner who you aren't sure feels the same way about you, you become confused. And it's understandable. If you're in love with somebody who you do not totally respect or you do not totally view as trustworthy, you're going to be confused. You're going to be, iffy about it. And that's what the second girlfriend, maybe they might have a second girlfriend. Such people are always uncertain in life. There are people in life who have an uncertainty as a characteristic. They are not sure of themselves. Oh, I'm not pretty enough. Oh, I'm not this enough. Oh, maybe there's another girl. So this is what it talks about. It says their decision making is very poor and always different from everyone else. They always think that they're the people with swag because they have to do everything to look good, which means that people have to use looks and materialistics to comprehend for their lack of self-esteem and stuff like that. And then it says, as you can see, I wrote perfect right here because this is perfect if you read more into it. This is just a little tip behind it. And then it says, one mistake, guys, listen up. It says, so on page 25, chapter 14, it says swollen wave, a wave that is swollen. So we're going to find out why the wave is swollen. It says, one mistake that we all do when we fall in love is that we have a mixture of patience. Oh my God. Patience, it's key. Patience is a virtue. We don't have the right balance of patience. That's what this is saying. It says, because you think that everything should fall in place by everything you're doing in power to make it a good outcome, which means that because you think you have the input to put in the marriage or relationship, everything should fall in place. You might be putting your all, but the other person is not participating, so it's not going to fall in place. That's why you have to have a mixture of patience. There are times where you have to speed things up, and there are times that you have to slow it down. So that's what the statement mixture of patience means. And we're going to just keep going right along because of time. Okay. So over here it says 26, and it talks about preparation. It says, preparation is something that we cannot do if we need a strong marriage or relationship, because people who are not prepared leave things on a change, which means that if you don't prepare ahead for marriage, and earlier I said marriage or in life there is a war, so if you don't prepare for the war, you're gonna fail. So that's what this is saying, that you have to prepare. be it your parents preparing you, being you analyzing people's relationships to see how things are going. Even if you're a child, you can analyze your parents' relationship to see, so you can prepare yourself ahead. And this book is also going to help to prepare you. So it says, also take them for granted. When things go south, instead of you trying to adapt and change, you give up. Which means that sometimes it's not everything that you have to give up. When things go south, you have to work with change. Change is needed for growth. So in order to grow, you have to change. This is what this is saying. So this talks about preparation, it talks about change, and it talks about adaptation. Adaptation means to move yourself in a way that you can go along with the change, so that when things go south, you're able to adapt to that. Okay, and then another one says, page 27, as you can see here, and it's chapter 15. It says, the princess on the edge. This is for my ladies. You guys listen up. It says, there is a situation where women who are raised from proper homes hasn't been well equipped, which means that just because you are from a good home doesn't mean you have been well equipped. Your parents will have a good marriage, but if they haven't taught you about toxic men and haven't taught you about self-esteem, you wouldn't be prepared. So parents, please prepare your children, your females, your males, for marriage. And also kids, just because you're from that good parent background doesn't mean that you're gonna be ready. It says marriage for immature people of the mind, which means that relationship is not for immature people. If you are immature, you can't be in a relationship. Immaturity means you haven't grown to a certain level yet, so you can't comprehend things. So if your mind is immature, you cannot cope with somebody who is mature, because you're gonna be down, you're gonna be used, you're gonna be manipulated, and all of that stuff. And hopefully I can talk about that more in the next video. Okay, it says, one thing I want you to know is that marriage is something that you have to be impressed by. You don't have to be impressed with somebody with, which means that you do not have to marry somebody to impress. There are a lot of people out there due to social media who feel like, oh, I'm getting old, it's my age, I have to get married. You have to know that you don't marry to get impressed. The only person that you marry is for yourself. You're married for growth, and you're married because somebody's going to complete you, is your better half. Listen, if you get married and somebody's not going to help you exceed, then you're doing yourself harm. You're sabotaging yourself. And do not sabotage yourself by getting married just to show off, just for the big wedding, because marriage surpasses all of that. That's just the tip of the iceberg. And I think either in this book or in another book, it talks about the honeymoon stage, which you guys should stay tuned for. And then we're getting to an end here with this book. So it says, marriage is not slavery. Therefore, when you are married to someone, do not treat them like an animal. It's very barbaric when you see this happening. It's very barbaric. We're not animals, we're human beings. And we have very complicated emotions, minds, and all of that stuff. So be it the male or female, do not treat your spouse just because they fall in love with you doesn't mean that you should use them or take advantage of them. You should not treat them like that. That's very barbaric if you do that. And it's not a slavery. Please, if you're in a marriage and you feel like you're being imprisoned and you're not let free, then that's not a proper marriage. That's slavery. And this book is clearly saying that it's not supposed to be that way. So, and that can be found, if you want to read along, that can be found in chapter 38. It says, servants and the girlfriend. That means that the girl should not be the servant. And it could be vice versa too. The male should not be the servant. No one should be enslaved in marriage. And then we're going to finally close it off with a nice little caption of a little tip of what this book is about. If you want to know more, you have to read the entire book. This is not everything. I just read some tidbits for you. So it says, the most dangerous of all is because very people who are taken care about is difficult. Which means that the very people who you're taking care of, it can be very difficult. They do not make it worth living the life. Do not take care of them, and do not care for yourselves. They may feel sorry when they are gone, which means that there are some people in our lives or marriages, right? This can be applied to lives too in general. There are some people in our lives that if you don't take care of them, they may be gone. And once you're gone, you feel bad because there's nobody to take away that space. It says love is all about attachments. I cannot stress this enough. Love is all about attachments. Even people who are in toxic relationships is because they are attached. That's what they are used to. So that's why it is the way. So love is all about attachments, and it is very difficult to deal with. You cannot find somebody who feels love if they're not attached to you. People haven't taken advantage of the situation. Guys, we need to highlight this. People have taken advantage of this situation. Because somebody loves them, they use them. Because, that it comes cheap to them. So please, Do not overshare your love if it's not being reciprocated back. If somebody's not loving you back and putting in the effort to love you, then do not overflow, because it says here, like before, it's not supposed to be slavery, and people will take advantage of your love and use you as a result. And you don't want to be manipulated or emotionally scarred. So when you read this book and you didn't know, now you know. So now you can be better for future reference. It says there's a lot of couples out there who are suffering from these mistakes because they did not get right equipment from their parents. Which means, like I've been stressing, parental guidance is very, very, very key. Not even parental guidance. If you're a kid, if you're a teenager, and you like somebody and you're in the talking stage, you can view other people's outcome and use it as a way to educate yourself if your parents are not going to do that. But I really urge all the parents out there to buy this copy of this book, even if you're already married, to read it to educate your young ones. Because some of these things can be overlooked, and before you know it's too late. You're already in a relationship with somebody, and then you are enslaved, and you're in a toxic relationship, and you wonder why things don't turn out properly. That's because you're not educated properly. So, yeah. And it says, there are times where you meet people, and all they seem great, and you have no problem with them, until you get closer to them and you get attached, and everything you know becomes emotionally messed up. Which means that somebody, you meet them, they try their best to impress you. Everybody wants to impress each other. You see them maybe social media, they look like they're having the best life, and you want to be a part of that. And then once you get to know them, you realize, oh my God, this person is absolutely different. So looks can be deceiving. Do not judge a book by its cover. But you can judge this book by its cover, because this is an amazing book. Thank you so much for staying with me, and stay tuned for next one. Stay tuned for the next one. Thank you.